Jesus was supposed to ascend into heaven after his resurrection. But when he looked back, I hope you know what happened when Jesus was raised from the dead. It was a woman that was the first person to behold him. I'm now wondering, Mary Magdalene was that woman. I'm now wondering, Mary Magdalene, you were loyal to Jesus while he was alive, while he did his earthly ministry. Are you there? Because 7 demons were casted out of you, and because of that you felt, even my husband will not be useful to me the way this man is. So she dedicated her life to the ministry of Jesus. Now Jesus is dead. Her loyalty did not stop just because the man died. The men had taken off like tornadoes. They had taken off. They were in hiding. Me and Rufus and the rest were in hiding. And then this woman, there was tension everywhere. This woman, Mary Magdalene, she defied the tension. She defied the political tension, defied the religious tension, went into the garden, that same spot that, you know, there are guards, there are all kinds of stuff. She entered into the garden and went into the tomb, saw angels. Angels were there. Questioned them, where have you taken? She didn't know there were angels, but he questioned them. Left the tomb, came out, and then saw Jesus, thought he was a gardener, and said, where have you taken him? Tell me so that I can go and retrieve his body. Hey, that's what I was meditating on yesterday night. I said, what loyalty is this? What does this woman want to gain from the dead? I have the answer to that question, but it's not for this lecture. What does she want to gain from the dead? Can you see that Jesus was on his way to heaven because of that loyalty? Jesus changed his route and called her Mary. The woman wanted to hug him, say, hey, don't touch me, don't touch me, because I've not yet ascended to my Father. If the woman had touched him, the salvation he procured will only apply to her. Don't touch me. That was why he took a sample of his blood to take into the Holy of Holies. If you have ever seen the architecture of the Holy of Holies, you will know that it's a room without a window. Yes, can you imagine that? A room without a window. And the curtain is not like the curtain you have in your house. If you know the thickness of the curtain we are talking about, it's like the material that is used for cladding, wall cladding. So when that curtain is fitted on the door, on the entrance, the place is pitch black, without no ray of light can violate those curtains. Jesus was taking, so the only thing that survives there is what we call Shekinah illumination. The illumination that comes from the presence of God himself. And that's why in heaven, in the New Jerusalem, there is no sun, no need for the light of the sun, because it will be Shekinah that will be our light. Jesus had to take that blood into the sanctuary so that the metrics, the redemption metrics can be carried out. You know, I told you the equation, that there are 3 things that have the capacity to cry. Cry, they are natural things, but they can cry from the earth and cry into the court of heaven. One of them is blood. So you will see that in the court session that took place when Abel was murdered, in the case file, the content was that the blood of thy brothers, the cry of thy brother's blood cried to me from the ground. It means that blood was able to cry from earth and cry into the court of heaven. In fact, it was that the cry of that blood that summoned the court, that made God to subject Cain to cross-examination by asking him, where is Abel your brother? Sin too can cry according to the calculations. Because when God came to encounter Abraham concerning Sodom and Gomorrah, he said he has come to see if the sin of Sodom and Gomorrah is according to the cry thereof. That means the sin of a land, he cries into the court of heaven. And the equation of redemption is to bring the cry of blood and the cry of sin together, and to know which one has more weight, which one can cancel the other, which one has more vocabulary and more volume. Is that clear? So that was what Jesus was going to do. And the analysis was going to take place by God the Father. Because if you enter into the Holy of Holies, are you with me? Say with me. If you enter into the Holy of Holies, then you will see one of the applications of the blood, which is the God word application. We have the God word application, we have the Satan word application, and we have the conscience word application. Somebody say God word, Satan word, and conscience word. So God, according to the Old Testament graphic illustrations, is in the Holy of Holies. Are you there? So when the high priest takes blood to him in the Holy of Holies, he looks at that blood and instantly he knows the value of that blood. He knows the value of that blood. Are you there? Vis-a-vis the value of the sin of the nation. So if that blood is negotiating power in the realm of the spirit is not up to the negotiating power of sin, that high priest will die there instantly. It means that the sacrifice was not accepted and there will be famine for that year. So every time the high priest is going into the Holy of Holies, there is something they tie on his waist called the curious girdle. You have seen the diagram before. The curious girdle is the only part of the high priest that transgresses the cutting, so that if he's struck dead, they will draw on the curious girdle and draw him out of the presence of God. Because if anyone gets bold and goes into the presence, he will end up like Uzzah. So Jesus, as the high priest, was taking that blood to go and present. And then, can you see how powerful that woman was? That Jesus had to delay. Our redemption was in view. The equation that will form the platform the equation that will form the platform of salvation was in view. It was urgent that humankind had to be recovered from her departure. But a woman cried. And for those of you that think that God doesn't give women ministry, the first messenger that Jesus sent was not the apostles. The first messenger, and she sent that woman to men that were hiding in caves. For those of you that right there, commissioned her from the gravesite and said, go look for my brothers. They are in hiding. They have switched off their phones. Some have destroyed their SIM cards. Look for them in the night because they won't come out in the morning. Oh my God. And then Jesus told her again, he said, look for my brethren. He now said, and Peter. As if Peter is not part of his brethren. So I was wondering, why did he say and Peter? He isolated Peter and put Peter in one. You know why? Because Peter was the one that denied him. And so at that time, Peter was already in self-pity. So he sent a woman to him and said, make sure you meet all the, you can meet the brethren generally, but meet Peter individually and tell him I sent you to him, so that you can recover him from his drowning state. It was a woman that was given that task. And you may not know, but most of the foot soldiers that will do the greatest damage to the kingdom of darkness in the end time are women. You might even think that men have courage, but when things begin to happen, God will now have to send undercover agents. People that in the natural don't seem to have what it takes to be dangerous. God now empowers them and commissions them. And as part of their commissioning is to look for men that are backslid, men that are afraid. They were champions before, but in the current time, in the day of persecution, preaching is no longer a viable. May the Lord help us in the name of Jesus. All right, so if you look at these two things, these are two apostolic meetings. So apostolic meetings are a critical part of the growth process of a believer.